Hey, all my crafty friends. I'm back with story of day 3, or story 3, because this is definitely not day 3. I've had to change up some things because of the way that the album is flowing. So, because I wanted my decor to be a full page spread, and we are currently on this side of the page. So, this is a story that I've been wanting to tell. As you can see, I mean, I took a picture of it. This is stemming from September, though, which is totally okay. If you want to take stories, that's why I said stories and not daily, and, you know, use them from other, you know, parts of life, it is your album, and you can do that. But anyways, so this is coming from Thursday BOGO from Starbucks, and that I had ordered a different drink that, you know, somebody suggested on TikTok or something along those lines. It is the iced pumpkin cream chai tea latte. Okay. This drink was literally like drinking fall. It was so good. It wasn't super pumpkiny, but it was so creamy and cinnamony, and I'm telling you, it was like fall in a cup. Like, my kids kept on like teasing me that I kept on calling it fall in a cup, but once they tasted it, they were like, oh my god, it kind of does. So what I've decided is, this was a picture that looked like this, obviously. In Photoshop, I selected myself. This is just like me taking a picture in front of like our decorations outside. I wish it was behind, like, with some leaves in the background, but I'm not that too worried about it. But what I'm going to do is, actually, I might throw my piece of paper back in because I kind of need a mask. I might throw my paper that I just cut this. I cut this out of my silhouette. I mean, I could have fussy cut it, but it was way easier. But what I'm going to do is use, I guess I should have this out. These stamps that I got off of Amazon. I think this one and probably this one. And I'm going to go all over the background and heat emboss this in gold and bronze, I believe. And make a whole background out of it, and then leave this part alone. That's why I said I think I need a mask. Yeah, and heat emboss it all, and so that it says that, and then we're going to stamp fall in a cup up here, put a number on it, and call it good. We'll probably put a number right here, in gold or that bronze color. And I think that will, I don't know, I think that will be just fun, and that's where my idea came out of. So let's get started, because the embossing part might take a minute. Oh, and then this will flip. I'm sorry, this will flip. I'm gonna put a adhesive dot, I think, or a Velcro dot right there, because I would like this popped up just a bit so it pops off the page. So I don't know how I want that to do that, but at least it might. I might put some like tabs down here too, and just not pull off the backing so that it lifts it a little bit. We'll get to that when we get to that, but I think I am going to throw this back through my silhouette, cut another one of these, and just white paper so that I can mask this, so that I can just stamp and not worry about it. So let's do that. First mark. Okay, so first mark for my watermarking, and then I am using Princess Gold and copper. I also have copper tinsel. I don't think I want that. I think I just want it to be low-key. So I think it's going to get warm, because we are going to be using that heat tool a ton. All right, so I'm going to put you on fast forward, I think, because obviously, like I said, oh, and then here is my mask for this. I used that piece of paper more than I thought I would. Actually, I was going to use it. I might use it still, but all right, so there's that. The only thing I need to figure out is how I'm going to put it down, because my washi tape sometimes likes to stick to my paper, and I will die if that happens. All right, guys, so how I am going to get this mask down is use some washi tape. I'm going to stick it to my hand so that some of the stickiness goes away. So hopefully it doesn't rip my paper like it has in the past. But my first mistake was putting it on that edge, thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, that didn't do anything. But yeah, so because my embossing powder is going to stick to that adhesive, that little bit of adhesive, because I forgot to use my anti-static pad, like I always do. I always forget. Like if I'm not reminding myself constantly, I forget all the time. So, all right, so like I mentioned before, just using some Versamark ink. This is photo paper already, so it definitely soaks up the ink quicker than a normal cardstock. So I only do, see how much of that embossing powder sticks there? Oh gosh. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, yes, I forgot to use my anti-static pad. Anyways, it doesn't do it too bad on the rest of everything else, just that one spot. And then also, I probably should have tried to use a like actual masking tape so that it would stick down, because the embossing powder got underneath this. But it's okay because it's fall, and fall is grungy, and fall is like, you know, it's just, it's okay. So I am using the gold first, as you can see here. And then we are going just to heat emboss. There is a ton of heat embossing going on with the spread, but you guys, this turned out as good as I thought it was going to be in my head. Like that's like when things turn out in your head compared like from what you thought about it in your head, it's just magic, right? Like I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. So I wanted to leave this part in here to kind of show you guys. I do bounce back and forth between the gold and the bronze, and using different stamps and all of that kind of stuff. So here I am. So that is one thing that you just had to kind of be careful of, because obviously there's lots of messes that can be happening right now. Lots of open containers of very fine embossing powder. And I kind of just went around. At first I wasn't thinking too much of it, trying just to like not think about it, because I think sometimes when I do think about it, I don't like it as much. But yeah, I just tried not to think about it. So I do try and cut out some of the embossing. Unfortunately, I am trying to edit on my phone instead of doing it all on my computer, because that takes a very long time. This is easier, but the problem is I can't speed it up as much. I can only do 2 times unless I export it out and re-export it back in. It's a thing. Anyways, it looks like I was getting kind of low in my frame too, so sorry about that. But guys, look at it. It's coming together. It's coming together. So I figured I needed one more stamp. I felt like, you know, just doing 2 stamps was probably going to start getting a little bit monotonous. And then this one takes up a little bit more space too. So what you are seeing right there is I did use probably a black ink at this point. And so the black ink is coming off with the Versamark ink. It's fine. The embossing powder covers it up, so I wasn't too worried about it. There isn't a ton of tips. My biggest tip is like heating the front and heating the back, and heating the front and heating the back pretty much, so that your paper doesn't warp too much. By this point, my gun was extremely hot. I actually burnt a hole in my lap, like in my blanket that I wear all the time in my lap. Just be careful. It was so hot. So, you know, as you go with quicker or more in the project, like your gun is going to get hotter and it's going to do it much faster. And then your paper pretty much levels itself out. This was actually, as I went on, like there wasn't that much warping. Also, turning those stamps and putting them at different angles and, you know, having some of them fall off the edge, that makes the stamp look different. I'm just so glad that I kind of thought about this. I did this type of thing in 2001. Yeah, in 2001 with my pumpkin cold brew where I was just holding it, but I had just did my hand. So I definitely wanted it to look a little bit different. And yeah, this one barely mimics the other one at this point. So I'm so excited that this kind of idea just kind of popped in my head. And I don't even know, like, where it kind of came from. I was looking at several different other inspirations, and this one just definitely, I started just like, it started just coming together. All right, so I did skip ahead a little bit for you guys, and here is the last. See, I do have a little bit of warping, not too bad, on this page, but there it is. Oh my goodness, I love it. I'm wiping away all the extra embossing. So good, guys. I loved the mix of the bronze or the copper and the gold. It just, everything about it, I just loved. So, all right, so I'm about to clean up my mess because there was tons. Oh, and there was my lunch. I don't know how that got in there. And now for the title. So my title, of course, is going to be Fall in a Cup. I figured that was fitting. The only thing I do wish is I would have used a little bit darker brown here by the end, but it all comes together just fine. This is chocolate from Close to My Heart. And honestly, it's dark here, and then it like, once it falls into the paper and melts into the paper, it becomes a lot less dark. But again, it's perfectly fine. So I'm going to stamp this. This is also my medium Jane stamps from L Studio, where I have the matching dies. This one is chosen a lot because I have the matching dies and I don't have to fussy cut it a lot. But this one actually, I went through all of my stamps, and I wanted a scripty font, but my scripty fonts weren't big enough. And so anyways, this one did it. And then I'm going to use the scripty font for In a Cup, and it's going to become so good. So I did use my anti-static pad there, as you can see, because I want to use the outline and do the gold embossing again. So that brown and that gold, guys, that combination right now is my favorite. So here we go. And I'm just doing 2 letters at a time because, again, I am working on matte photo paper, so it does absorb the ink rather quickly. But I won't emboss it right away. I just want to get the ink on there, or the stuff on there, so that the ink catches it first. And then this turns out so good. And I then put it through my die cutting machine. You don't have to worry about the embossing getting hurt by the die cutting machine. It goes through just fine. Lots of heat embossing today, right? Lots of heat embossing. Again, putting it all away because it will get everywhere. And then we're going to pull out that die cutting machine and get fall all cut out here. Pretty easy. Like I said, I just needed to line that up, and there we go. Power of video. Now to figure out what I'm going to do for In a Cup. Like I said, I went through so much, and I really wanted to incorporate that iris stamp from Carrie Bradford, so I figured that was the perfect way. But I also didn't want to stamp it on a piece of white paper and make it look so stark, I guess. Like, I don't have the dies for these, and I didn't really want to fussy cut this out. I ended up fussy cutting it kind of out, I guess, a little bit, not letter by letter, but kind of. But then I stood up and I'm like, oh my gosh, vellum. Well, at first I was like brown paper. That will melt into the back a little bit. It won't be so stark white. And so I was like, I can do it like that and emboss the gold on there and it will look beautiful. Well, I didn't have the right brown. The browns just did not match. So I stood up and I'm like, oh, I have that vellum. And my vellum that I have is 100 GSM. So pretty thick. You don't want to do this with you know, pretty light vellum. And it honestly took it very well. Again, my heat gun was extremely warm. It was very warm. So already. So I made sure it was real hot again, and I just literally waved it over top of it and got it to, you'll see here. I think I show it. I believe I show it. I might have been off screen though, unfortunately. Let's see. No, yeah, I didn't show it. I think I was off screen. But it worked perfectly. So I know that Simon Says stamp also has vellum that is like heat resistant type thing, or transparency. I think that was heat resistant to do like shaker cards and all that kind of stuff. So you could do it from there. But just also get pretty thick vellum and it should work pretty well. This isn't the best stuff to like print a huge picture on it by no means. It wasn't the best at taking black ink, but I also think that I might have been printing on the wrong side. It might have had a side that you had to print on, and I might have been doing it wrong, that type too. So, but here nor there. All right, so let's get this on here. I at first was just going to put the in a cup underneath of it, and I was like, nope, I want to kind of like have the in a cup go under it, like there we go, right there. So I really quick like pull up the bottom part. That's the good thing about liquid glue, is that it gives you a little bit of time. So there I was pulling up a little bit. I am going to fussy cut, and dun dun dun, all done. We're almost close to being done. It didn't really take me that long, but you don't want to watch that. Just light fussy cutting, and then I just slipped them underneath the title, and I think that, oh my goodness, guys, like everything about this project came out great. I also just used some liquid glue just behind the embossing, so that you couldn't see it through the vellum also. It's kind of how I stuck it on there. It was pretty good at hiding the glue. I just lightly put everything on there though. Not a ton of glue. You don't need a ton of glue. And then we'll put the F, or the other L. I was like, oh, we probably need to do that. There we go. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. So the last part of this is just to create the flip up. And I did put an acrylic piece there because my vellum was starting to like curl a little bit. So I was like, oh, let me put the acrylic piece down, and that way it will stay down. Again, just used some copy paper. Now the back of the cup is gonna look ugly. I don't know, like sometimes I'm all about like the littlest details, and then sometimes I'm like, you know, it's not a big deal. I could have flipped this in my silhouette and, you know, cut out some pattern paper, you know, of the reverse of this and put it down. I could probably go back. I might go back and just stamp over it and just, you know, stamp on it and just make it pretty. But for right now, it is fine. I'm not too worried about it. And I just put that down. And then my phone ended up cutting off, unfortunately. And I did put a little Velcro dot at the top of the cup to keep it open and closed, and it actually popped it up exactly how I wanted it to. I think you can see that in the side pictures here coming up, but other than that, look at that, guys. I am so pumped for this one. So thank you guys all for getting through this one with me. I know there was a lot of embossing. Put a cup in the comments below if you got this far and let me know what you think. But oh, I also didn't put a number on this. I didn't think it needed one. Talk to you soon.